You are completely wrong on this. It is the quintessential Christmas movie. Are you listening to yourself? That is insane. It is not a Christmas movie.
The first, the last, the Nerdom cheer. Mike and Tom slaying every year. Is Die Hard Christmas or just a fight? We'll debate it all tonight. Jingle bells and action scenes. Santa hats or movie queens. Do we deck the halls or roll our eyes? Is it festive or just a disguise? Reindeer running through.
Who were those guys? Welcome back to the First, the Last, the Nerdom, the podcast where we dig into the first, the last, and everything in between in pop culture. And this week we're continuing a very special and slightly unhinged month we're calling Christmas Movie ? Where we take films that happen around the holidays and put them on trial to decide whether they truly belong under the Christmas tree. And this week's case, it's the 1984 black comedy that forever changed how we feel about cute creatures, midnight snacks, and holiday gifts gone horribly wrong. Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante and produced by Steven Spielberg, written by Chris Columbus. Gremlins is the ultimate genre mashup, part Christmas movie, part horror comedy, part satire, and 100% chaos. It's got snow-covered streets, twinkling lights, and carolers, right alongside exploding movie theaters, homicidal monsters, and one of the darkest sense of humor to ever sneak into a mainstream holiday release. We're diving into how Gremlins balances festive nostalgia with razor-sharp cruelty, why it still works decades later, and whether a movie that features a Santa Claus trauma and blender-based monster murder can honestly be called a Christmas classic. So remember the rules: don't get it wet, keep it out of the bright light, and never feed it after midnight. This is the First, the Last Nerdom. This is Christmas Movie ? And this week we're unleashing Gremlins on the holidays. Hello, I'm Tom, and I'm here with ML. And I brought a special guest. Yes, I brought Gizmo with me. So he's looking over us. There
we go.
He makes sure I've...
Big little guy. I hope
don't worry. I don't have water. I do have my boomer juice. I don't know what that will have effect on him. So we'll see.
Well, I have my coffee here and my dumb coconut water. So we're ready to tackle Gremlins.
And while we talk, I've got a special caretaker to look over him. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. We have our new addition, Pennywise. He'll take good care of Gizmo, I'm sure.
Nothing bad will ever happen at all. Not anything bad whatsoever at all.
Never.
Well, with that being said, here we'll get off to the races here and go to a very, very fun movie that Tom and I have no doubt nostalgia that we're going to get into. This is a special one too. But first, we're the First, the Last, the Nerdom. This is our website. You can reach us there anytime at www.firstlastnerdom.com or just FirstLastNerdom.com. Anyway, either way, you'll find our last 21 up on YouTube there in a little carousel there, a little rolling feed of our greatest hits or at least our most current hits. Well, we'll put it that way. So
it's a cavalcade of nerdom.
Yes. And I did want to bring attention to the wonderful feedback that we had for Smiling Friends and Haha You Clowns. Wonderful feedback. We read everything. Because we can, but we really did enjoy the back and forth that we had with the fans and we did hear you about AI Slap. We're having a little bit of fun with it. Maybe it's something we can look at in the future, but for now, Tom and I are always changing things up. So we're not really married to any given intro or whatever, as it goes. But with that being said, Tom, you have, I guess, well, that's my fault. Oh, all right. Well, that's good to know. Anyway. So aside from that, I have been monkeying with the with the website. But Tom, We are also, are we not also available on YouTube? Is that not true?
Yes, we are. We're widely across YouTube. We've picked up. We lose a few subscribers, we gain a few. But yeah, we're exactly. We're kind of hanging around there. Haven't quite hit 440 yet, but we're approaching it. But yeah, that's our home. You could check out our videos, our shorts, our lives. We cover it all: horror, fantasy, sci-fi, comedy, a few noirs.
Yeah,
Some
absolutely. Yeah, and we're recording this one. Normally, we would have lately. The phase has been that we go live on the day that we do this thing, either Sunday or Monday. But it is what it is. So we just have to do that thing. But I believe you sir are also on Reddit as well.
well, yes, I am. I try to promote us on different subreddits. As you notice, I've been deleted by most. I try to promote our Cyberpunk on Cyberpunk site, and they removed it, saying you should go to Cyberpunk Games to promote this. I went to Cyberpunk Games, and they removed me as well. So yeah, it's all good.
Look at that. Yeah, fuck those guys. Sorry. I have no use for I see this. Anyway. But the fun part is that you do get there, and you know what? I joke and I complain about Reddit or whatever, but once in a while, we'll actually get really cool, good core engagement with like-minded fans and nerds. So when that does happen, that's the thing to be excited about. So not to focus too much on the negative there, but
I find the smaller subreddits are cool with this. The ones that they're slightly big, they get uppity in their airs, and they look down upon us plebeians. But I'm also on X. Both places I'm FirstLastNerdom. Getting in the Christmas spirit, as is Pennywise. He wanted his picture taken in front of the tree, so I did that for him. And so we're just hanging out, and I got a picture of him with his friend Art the Clown, our sort of mascot of our channel there.
Indeed.
Yep.
Official. Well, at least as far as the first to last goes.
And Mezco's has a run on getting out making clowns, and they're going to start on the Killer Clowns this coming year. So I may be getting some more. My family of clowns may be expanding.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I too am on X at SofaKingJewish_. And, occasionally me and Tom have a banner back and forth there and whatnot. But without further ado, this is a sentimental, nostalgic one that although I was too young to see it in the theater, and age will come into play later on when we start really unpacking this movie and we really get into it. But as far as it goes, this came out. I didn't see it when it was like the next year when it was on home video or whatever. And what happened was, or it very well could have been a little bit later on. Anyway, it was a time when you could rent it. So my mom at the time, I was very little, and so was my sister. She was a baby, and but I was old enough to kind of it could have even been a couple years after it, really. Now that I think about it, but anyway, I was at my grandma's, and they had put me to bed, and they had a very poor divider on the thing. It was just like a bookshelf in the living room. Anyway, so they were very quietly watching Gremlins, and I was very quiet too, and I also watched Gremlins. So I have a very fond memory of that's like one of my very first movies that I wasn't supposed to see, but I saw it anyway.
Right.
So that's where my nostalgia comes in with this. And of course, it's always fun to rewatch this in general. And it didn't really scare me, but it was pretty frightening. I remember, I vividly remember some of the famous kill scenes here, and some other ones that are, that I remember that didn't make it to be but anyway, Gremlins. Well, how about you, Tom? I know you have a much better detailed history on some of these awesome films than I do, but nonetheless.
Right. Yeah, I was a little bit older than you, so I was able to see this in the theater. Yeah, I was a big Spielberg fan. Being a young kid in the '80s, you knew who Spielberg was, you knew who Lucas was, and so anything that had Spielberg's name on it, you were aware of. So yeah, it was one of those that was on my radar, and then I really wasn't, I'm a big horror fan right now, but I kind of creeped into it when I was younger. I don't know why I was this way, but I don't think my parents really cared what we watched. Because we knew they knew we would we didn't watch things that we weren't prepared for. So if it was like R rated, we knew it wasn't something we should see. But I was always fascinated by horror, and I was always kind of wanted to see it. But I wanted to see stuff that was safe for me. So I would watch the horror movies that were on the the regular cable channels where the stuff the quote unquote bad stuff was cut down. Spielberg horror movie like Poltergeist or Gremlins, I knew wouldn't go too extreme. So and then this movie probably gave me a love for the black comedy, the combination of comedy and horror. It just got to hit that sweet spot for me.
Yeah. Speaking of that, this like many Spielberg films, to be honest, or at least executively produced, this was directed by Joe Dante, but it was EP'd by Steven. Anyway, he also did a lot. He was very, very big in the 80s. He was huge, but like that, this actually, because of the nature of what it is, it actually became like one of the classic kind of horror at Christmas kind of thing. That and the creature feature, it changed the way it's an anti-blockbuster because they did everything that you weren't supposed to do for like a movie, I believe, anyway. And it's just so unique, and it became very, very beloved very quickly, I believe.
Yeah, it was basically the story. If you've been living under a rock for all your life, the movie's about this inventor father who finds a unique gift for his son and gives it to him before Christmas, and it's this little creature that comes with certain rules. That once you say the rules, at one point they got to be broken. He gives them a little gizmo, and he's not supposed to be fed after midnight, no water, and he's scared of the light. So and then things go awry after that. But yeah, it's a heartwarming tale until it isn't. Yeah, wonderfully directed by Joe Dante. He was kind of down on his luck. He had some success with Piranha and also the Howling. But he was kind of in dire straits. His the second the project after Halloween, the Howling, kind of never got made, and all that time he didn't get paid for. So he was kind of so he did a few episodes of Police Squad, as it shows there, and kind of worked a little bit on Twilight Zone the movie. But yeah, he was down bad. So he and Spielberg had that script, Chris Columbus's script for Gremlins, and he thought he wanted to do it as kind of a low budget horror movie. And so he knew obviously Joe Dante could do that. And actually before Joe Dante he actually had thought about Tim Burton because he had seen his short Frankenweenie. But since Tim Burton hadn't done like a major movie, he went with Joe Dante. When the script showed up, Joe Dante was like, did they send this to me by mistake? I don't know. And but no, Spielberg wanted him for it. And then obviously I think Chris Columbus, he wrote that when he was in I think college, and he kind of did it as just to show off what he could do as a writer because he never thought the movie would get made. But somehow it landed in Spielberg's lap, and he thought it would be a perfect movie to be made. And of course, Chris Columbus, he went on to do many blockbusters like Home Alone. He wrote Goonies. He's directed some Harry Potter movies. He's all over the place. So
Yeah, and I remember this also spawned kind of knockoffs, like kind of and this was already kind of like a B level, kind of like very Frank Capra esque in something. It kind of sets itself up. There's a little bit of a critical layer there that it kind of pokes fun at consumerism a little bit while also serving you up consumerism towards the end of the movie, like where it just became there was a factory line, or a supply chain of a factory to make things like, these things like, so you had the phenomenon in the 80s where you would have a cartoon, and the cartoon wasn't necessarily the thing. The cartoon was the vehicle to sell the toys. Although it wasn't quite this. This was quite a bit more heady and more artistic, and had a lot more depth than it should have, or whatever. But anyway, going back to my point, then it spawned kind of I guess generic or dollar general, like Critters. Do you remember that one, like the ball?
Yeah, Critters, Ghoulies, Munchies. Yeah, there's several of those kind of low budget movies.
Those were fun too, but the one that was really the one that kicked it off, the creature, it was Gremlins. I mean, fundamentally awesome stuff. But yeah, no, you were saying, the three rules, and you kind of go there, and then I do think that this is a little bit forward, but kind of current news that I dug up. I don't know. Did you see the current news at all about Gremlins 3 and Warner Brothers?
Yeah, they would be kind of foolish not to let that lay dormant, especially since they have that successful animated series that they have on Max with the Gremlins that started in 2022. I think it's called Gremlins. Way of the Mogwai or something like that.
Secrets of the Mogwai.
Yeah. It's sort of like a prequel that Joe Dante is involved. Yeah, they've been asking Joe Dante about it. He said, well, they'd be kind of crazy not to do it. But he's not involved in it. So Chris Columbus is set to write and to direct. Yeah, yep. And Spielberg is producing it. So I think
quality behind it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris Columbus, this is his baby. I mean, he created this, he wrote it, and his original script was much darker. They've kind of, Spielberg sprinkled his magic on it, and as well as Joe Dante, and the movie was the script was very dark. In fact, the mother dies in it. That is killed by the Gremlins, and she's beheaded, and there's a scene where the son comes home and the mom's head comes tumbling down the stairs. So it's a little bit darker. They also killed the dog, and Gizmo. Actually, there was not separate characters of Gizmo and Stripe. Actually, Gizmo becomes Stripe in the original script. Spielberg was the one that said, Gizmo's too cute. You're going to lose the audience if you turn him evil. So, so you need to keep him. And of course, the special effects guy, that Chris Wallace, who came up with the design and creatures of Gremlins, Gizmo, and all the other ones. He kind of almost had a heart attack going, what? He's going to be through the whole thing? Because they're going to have to make this puppet do so many more things than what they originally planned for, because Gizmo is supposed to disappear halfway through the movie. And so now they have to make him into a hero puppet. And and he was a small, obviously a little bit bigger than this, but he was a small puppet, so all of the gears and everything would break down, and the guys that were had 6 guys working the Gizmo, and it would constantly break down. So they're completely always kind of frustrated with him. And there's a scene where the bad gremlins, they've got him up on a dartboard and they were throwing things at him, and that was sort of like a payback for the guys that they really wanted that scene so they could take out their frustration on Gizmo. He was not their biggest fan, but yeah, there's so everything that's kind of nice and cute was probably inspired by Spielberg. And also there's an early scene where the main character, his name's Billy, right? The main guy that played by Zach Galligan.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
Billy. Yeah, you're right.
Billy. Billy. Yeah, I was thinking, Billy, is that the name? But yeah, so Billy's going to work, and he passes a movie theater, and an eagle-eyed
Billy
person,
Pupper,
will see what was playing, which is A Boy's Life and Watch the Skies. And A Boy's Life, if you know anything about Spielberg, that was the working title of E.T., and Watch the Skies was the working title for Close Encounters. So yeah, they did that as a nod to Spielberg. He said, he did that so that whenever Spielberg would get the dailies, he'd be happy, and that'd bring a smile to his face seeing that. And there's a lot of one of the things I like about Gremlins is there's a lot of what we call now member berries. He throws in a lot of references and things from older movies. Other today people do the pog face. Oh, I know that, kind of thing.
Right.
But he does it in a much more subtle way, where it's not like in your face. It's much more kind of in the background, or works its way into the scene. It's done with style, as opposed to just jumping in there and beating you over the face with it. But yeah, there's a lot of kind of hidden stuff, even and he likes bringing in older actors and people that have been in the business forever. Like Dick Miller shows up in this, and Dick Miller is like one of his stalwarts. He's as long as Dick was alive, he was in every single one of Joe Dante's movies, and he's a very great character actor. And there's a scene in the bar where Billy's kind of doing his drawing of one of the ladies he doesn't like in his life, and the guy that's kind of complimenting him on the drawing was actually Chuck Jones, an animator for Looney Tunes. So yeah, and I think even in that scene, Billy says, "Thank you, Mr. Jones," which obviously is Chuck Jones. So a lot of interesting cameos in it.
I was going to say that not only that, but member berries, but there's a lot of audience pleasing material that happens here. You have one the biggest aside from the Gremlins themselves. There's kind of like this Scrooge. The town's kind of Scrooge.
Mhm.
She Mrs. Deagle.
Yeah, Deagle. Yeah.
You kind of like something happens to her. Like this is a 40 almost a 40-year-old movie at this point. So spoiler alert. Yeah, we're gonna wade in. But she has kind of a gruesome thing. This thing had so many. It broke new ground in new ways. It had some of the most memorable kill scenes. It had the one thing about age that I wanted to get before we get into the main thing is the fact of like the rating system. Like it was this movie, but it was Spielberg, connected to this and other several ones that because there's a gap between R and PG, so they wanted to do the PG-13 one. Did you that's just crazy. Like it just,
it got a PG along with that same summer. Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom came out, and the combination of that movie and Gremlins, I think the scene that pushed things over was the scene of a gremlin in a microwave meeting his end. A lot of parents were upset about that, so yeah, that caused them to create the PG-13 rating, and and things went from there. But yeah, it sort of bridged that gap that was kind of needed. But yeah, this was a PG movie, which probably should have got a PG-13 if that was available at that that time. And one of the things I wanted to point out is there is a 4K out. I did get a while back. I got the Blu-ray when that was out. A 3-pack, which is the Goonies, Gremlins, and Gremlins 2. Great 3-pack. And it's not all squeezed on a disc. There's a 3-disc in here. I think it was relatively cheap. But I got to recommend either you get the Blu-ray or the 4K, because well, even the original DVD, there's some wonderful extras on the Gremlins. There's 2 audio commentaries, both have Joe Dante on it. The one that there's the more technical one where he does with the producer, and then the guy who did the puppetry for the and designs of the Gremlins, Chris Wallace. So that's more kind of a technical one, but they do have fun on it. But there's also a cast one where it's Joe Dante, Zach Gilligan, you got Phoebe Cates, you got Dick Miller, you got Howie Mandel. They're all there, and just having a wonderful time. It's one of the best commentaries I heard because you get a lot of information. Zach is actually maybe even more knowledgeable than Joe Dante about the movie. He was pulling out facts left and right. Dick Miller seemed like he was just kind of happy to kind of be there and just said a few things here and there. And Howie Mandel was hilarious during it because he's the voice of Gizmo, right, as we all know. And yeah, there was a lot of fun anecdotes that were said in it. And one of them, they were talking, and the old Chinese guy at the beginning, played by Key Luke. He's I think 79 when the movie was made, and he actually looked extremely young for his age. Zach said he looked 20 years younger, and so they actually had to put makeup on him to make him look older. And he was asking Key what he what he did to keep young, and he was kind of expecting some ancient Chinese secret. And Key Luke said, no fried foods. And so that was kind of funny. And then as they were talking, they were talking about, and Zach was talking about meeting Phoebe Cates not too long after that, or not too long before they did the commentary, and he was like, and she looks as beautiful today as she did back then, and she said, no fried foods, as a callback joke, which was really funny. Awesome. So yeah, yeah, and yeah, she was one of my first crushes. Is like, yeah, this is I was a little too young for Ridgemont, Fast Times at Ridgemont High at the time, but yeah, seeing this, yeah, it was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, and you also have Corey Feldman in his first movie role. And Joe Dante, he said, before he became a teenager, he was a really good child actor. I don't know if that was kind of a slight against Corey or not. And Howie Mandel made a comment about, I guess he was too young for the being introduced to the strippers or something. Evidently, he has some ties with that. He asked if he had hooked up with Michael Jackson by then, and Joe was like, "No, that's pre-Michael Jackson."
Yeah. Well, he, just like Phoebe, she, both are icons in and of themselves for that era. For Corey Feldman, had some future, some very good movies in the future, but also had even some crazier times ahead for him. So
yeah, and another thing Joe Dante said about Corey is, he treated Gizmo like in the Gremlins as kind of real creatures. He really interacted with them. yeah, got into it, and he said the other actor that really got into it, and it was genuine emotion, and everything that he was kind of giving out there was the dog Mushroom. Mushroom was which I forget the name of the dog in the movie, but his real dog name is Mushroom, and they said that he reacted to the Gremlins like they were real. And he really wanted to interact with Gizmo, and he really gave kind of a genuine performance. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. This kind of the little thing that had the thing right up for us, but it's just really cool. It has the memorable kills list. And I don't know, what was your favorite memorable kill? Was it the blender? Was it the microwave? Was it the the blinds? Was it the
Yeah, the microwave was fun.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I do remember the water being, remembering that as part of the, like, I don't remember everything when I was, growing up, but I do remember some things you just naturally come up. Oh, I didn't mean to pull that one up, but this one, this is just such a good classic one. And of course the next ones that came through too were also they did well in their own right, which Hollywood loves a franchise. It's also why we were talking like that. Even to this day, the fact that there's something out there that they're working on, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of fun looking at all the little stuff in Billy's room, like the Conan comic books. I noticed those, and I think when Gizmo has the water and he's got the little fur balls popping out of him, it was like, I think he was laying on a Conan comic book. But and there was like a Road Warrior poster, and they're watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's just all sorts of cool little things in there, and actually, what Joe Dante and Spielberg wanted to do was actually show there's a Looney Tunes cartoon with Bugs Bunny with Gremlins in it, and they wanted to show that before the movie as a lead in. And they were really steeped in and Joe Dante loves Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, all of that. And he later did a Looney Tunes movie later in his career. But a lot of the action and the fun of this movie is it kind of goes to that level of Looney Tunes action. And at the time, and at the time, Warner Brothers, even their logo, they had changed it, and so Joe Dante knew they were kind of going back to the well with Warner Brothers and kind of going back to the classics. So he brought back the classic Warner Brothers WB logo and redid it and brought it back to its original form. And Warner Brothers loved that so much that from then on they started using it again.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I was reading where Zach Galligan is Billy in this, but a lot of people auditioned for it, like Tom Hanks and Emilio Estevez. And,
did they really? Wow.
Yeah, Judd Nelson. I think they said Judd Nelson got so into his audition that he threw something. I think he almost hit one of the producers, and they go, maybe a little too intense for that. and they filmed a lot of the auditions that they couldn't. Joe Dante or Spielberg couldn't be there, so they taped them. And there was one where Zach did with Phoebe Cates, and at the at the end of it, they're kind of goofing around, and Zach kind of puts his head on her shoulder and says, young love. And Spielberg saw that, and he goes, hire that guy. He's already in love with her. Yeah, it's going to be perfect.
Awesome.
And he saw Emilio Estevez's audition, and Spielberg said, nah, he rejected him, saying he's internalizing. He's internalizing. So what? So whatever that meant, but maybe he was being a little too serious. I don't know.
Ho ho ho.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, you would not have the same movie if it's not the way that it rolled out. It needed him. So that's him. That's just the classic the thing.
Yeah,
But,
it's kind of surprising he wasn't in a lot more because I really enjoyed him in the movie, and he has this really good presence about himself. But
well,
yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of like Steve Guttenberg, right?
Yeah.
So in the 80s and in good part of the 90s, you had Steve Guttenberg, and then all of a sudden, poof, the guy that was in everything, everywhere was gone. But anyway, yeah, it is fun to go back and look and see, like what or why, some things just don't shake out for some, but I agree. I'm surprised that he didn't do more work. I mean, he did obviously do work, but not like become bigger than like a household name like Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman became a household name.
Yeah, for better or for worse. Yeah, there's yeah. Speaking of kind of cameos in it, you have Chuck Jones. You also have there's a scene where the dad Randall is in the he goes to a inventor convention and he calls from it, and you see all these wacky inventions around him. And the first scene of it, this guy rides across on this little vehicle, and that's Spielberg, and the and the guy behind the dad in one of the phone booths is Jerry Goldsmith, who's the composer of the movie. And then if you look behind him, there's a time machine from the Time Machine movie, and is the actual time machine. And the cute thing about that is there, the one scene you see the time machine, and it cuts back to the mom talking to him, and it cuts back, and the time machine's gone, and they're kind of looking around. So it's kind of a fun little Easter egg in the background. It's like, oh, where did the time machine go? And you got, and then later on in another scene at the convention, there's Robbie the Robot, which is in a lot of Joe Dante's movies. The actual Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet. That's kind of fun to see. But yeah, like I said, there's all sorts of little Easter eggs in this movie, and the eagle eye in the there's a bar scene with all the gremlins, and there's a lot of little Easter eggs. You have that are kind of aged right now with the there's the flash dance gremlin dancing provocatively, and then there's the video game that I was very excited about was the Star Wars video game, arcade game that was top technology at that time that the Gremlins were playing it. But a lot of references in the big store at the end. They go past a lot of the stuffed animals, and you got your Looney Tunes, and you had a little ET doll that the Gremlin pushes out to look around. But yeah, a lot of product placements, and the movie wasn't. Yeah, yeah. They kind of realized once the movie came out what they had. So much like E.T., they kind of had a scramble to really pull out all the marketing. Whereas nowadays, they have all that marketing stuff pre set up and ready to roll out as soon as the movie comes out. But back in those days, they were still kind of learning what sold and what didn't, and they really didn't know if this movie was going to blow up. And even Joe Dante during the commentary track was like, I still don't know why it was a hit. It just came out, I guess, at the right time. The people were ready for it. There's just sort of there's that 80s magic. It came out, you think about it, it came out the same weekend as Ghostbusters. And just think of those two iconic movies coming out the same day. And I'm sure, I don't remember, but I know I've went to the theaters to see both of them. And it's like just magic. And this is one of the movies that's top grossing movie that never reached number one, because Ghostbusters was number one that first weekend, and Gremlins was right behind it. The, one of the more interesting things about Ghostbusters and Gremlins is that all across the U.S., Ghostbusters was obviously number one, but in New York, where Ghostbusters was filmed, the New Yorkers were so fed up with that movie and hated it so much because they blocked traffic so much.
Oh, wow.
In that city, Gremlins was number one because they all went to see Gremlins out of spite of Ghostbusters.
Well, yeah. Well, I was also going to say too. They set the scene perfectly too, because like I kind of mentioned a little bit, when you see this town and you see this idyllic kind of town, they do that for a reason. You're about ready to see it all get destroyed. Kind of
Right.
the scene for it. It's also when they do go to the Chinatown scene, though. It's so moody. It feels like the 80s. It feels like that. So many other moments that you have for films that were done in this time frame that you just instantly calls back, and you're like, yep. I know, I remember that. That feeling, that atmosphere anyway.
Yeah, and it has that kind of unreal feel because it's also filmed on Warner Brothers and Universal backlots.
Right.
The lots, and so there's sort of like that almost Hollywood feel to it, kind of unreal. And Joe Dante said that he wanted that because he said that the Gremlins didn't stand out so much because if they had filmed it, if they went to like a real suburb or whatever, they would kind of look unreal. They would kind of stand out too much in that setting. Whereas putting them in this sort of almost make believe town, they kind of fit in, and that's very astute. Does it just trying to picture them in sort of like a more realistic suburb. It just would fit. It fits in this sort of kind of Christmassy kind of spirited sort of small town.
Right.
Yeah, and I got that feeling, especially with the first few minutes of the movie, where there's like that sense of community, and everybody kind of knows each other, and you don't really get that whole lot in today's movies. People are much more separated and isolated, whereas this movie kind of felt you kind of almost wanted to kind of live in that town before the Gremlins kind of tore it up. But it just seemed like kind of even though there's the whole underlying story that never kind of goes to fruition, where people are losing their job because of the noodle factory is closed down. And
Right.
there's then also there's Judge Nelson. Is that his Judge Reinhold? Judge Reinhold, who's in this. He's only in like a couple of scenes, but he's plays Gerald, who's sort of like the bully at the bank that kind of pushes around Billy
Right.
for a little bit, and they had to cut several of his scenes along with the president of the bank. There's and also on the Blu-ray, there's about 10 minutes worth of deleted scenes, and one of them shows you the fate of the bank's president, and also what happened to Judge's character. He gets he kind of hides in when the Gremlins attack the bank. He hides himself in the vault. And there's a scene where he's kind of there's the controversial scene where Kate gives her big speech about why she hates Christmas, which everybody but Phoebe Cates and Joe Dante wanted out of the movie. They said it didn't work. Yeah, even Spielberg was like, it could go. I don't care. The studio absolutely hated that scene. But after she gives that speech, they hear something and they go to the bank vault and find that Judge is there, and he calls him uh, Captain Clip-On tie, like you did, because Billy has the clip-on. But yeah, that speech really, Dante really wanted it in the movie because it sort of, he felt encapsulated the movie where you have this really dark and horrific thing that happens to Kate, but it's funny. If you take away the emotion and everything, it's oddly funny. And you have this thing
Absurd,
where,
right?
where you you almost want to laugh, but then you don't want to, and you really don't know how to feel about it. And he goes, that sort of like encapsulates this movie and what he wanted to generate as far as emotions with this movie. And he really wanted to keep that in the movie. And Phoebe Cates, obviously that's her big scene, so she wanted to keep it in there. And but yeah, the studio really wanted it out. They said, when they did the big screening, and everybody loved the movie, that the audience really loved it. They said, "Oh, it's a perfect movie." If we could get that scene out, once we get that scene out, it's going to be a perfect movie. And Joe was like, no, and Spielberg asked him, do you really want this scene? And he said yes. And Spielberg had final cut, so if he wanted to, he could cut it out. But since Joe was so passionate about the scene, he said, okay, we're going to keep it in. And he said that Spielberg told Joe afterwards that they were fighting and trying to persuade Spielberg up until it released to get that scene out. They really didn't want that in there.
That's funny.
Which, it's a legendary scene. People talk about it. It's like the movie wouldn't be the same without it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It would be a completely different movie. I mean, it would be different anchor points, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then it is a Christmas movie. We posed the question. We'll say it is a Christmas movie, and throughout it, you've got the Christmas music. You got them playing at one point "It's a Wonderful Life" on the TV screen. Yep. But there's another Frank Capra movie that's in this movie. There's an educational film that's shown that was being shown to the kids. In the science teacher's lab about the heart pumping of blood in the heart, which is the Bell Science Series film Hemo the Magnificent from 1957. This short was written and directed by Frank Capra, who also directed It's a Wonderful Life. So
that is really cool.
That's I didn't know that. I saw that on IMDb and thought, oh yeah, I need to include that here. But yeah, I think I was kind of looking over my notes. I think most of the stuff I've kind of gone over.
We covered the current news that's coming out. It's greenlit and it's it's in
it's supposed it's supposed to come out in 2027. So we'll see. It's not something I'm looking forward to because it may not happen, and also because especially Warner Brothers, they just recently got bought by, is it Netflix? Is it
Netflix.
Paramount? Who knows?
No, it's Netflix. Yeah. No, the Paramount offer was rejected, I believe. So as far as current today, I mean, unless something drastically changes, it's going to be Netflix. But that's one. I mean, I think you have two very different styles of company, but we'll find out. Who knows? Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, and also one other thing about Gremlins themselves. I knew it, but then I forgot because Gremlins have kind of taken over what Gremlins means. Gremlins originally came from World War II with the World War II pilots talking about little green men messing with the planes. When the planes would go malfunction or something, they say, "Oh, it's the Gremlins." And Roald Dahl, who is a writer, but he was also a soldier in World War II. He actually wrote a book a novel or short story about Gremlins, and it was actually going to be made into a Disney movie, and there's like actually pictures drawn for it. And they actually published the book, but yeah, and I think the book is in the movie somewhere. But yeah, that's I'm kind of fascinated by that. I'm kind of curious about looking that book up and maybe checking it out. But yeah,
Absolutely.
there's that. But yeah, there's, like I said, I went over a lot of the fun story, and like I said, Howie Mandel is hilarious in the movie as Gizmo. This is his first voice acting work. He kind of got introduced to it by another voice actor who actually does the voice for Spike in this, or not Spike, but Stripe. Another veteran voice actor. He kind of got him into this the voice acting, and but yeah, of course he did all the voices after the movie was made. But the cool thing is they did language specific versions of this movie, and so they had Howie do his little Gizmo voice in different things in the different languages, and they actually kind of did specific gags for that area, like say in the bar scene with the Gremlins. In the German version of the movie, in the bar, they're singing German beer songs. So they did a lot of specific things for the different areas to make it specific to that country.
That's really smart.
To make it more more favorable. So it's almost like their version of the movie, which is cool. I have never heard of another movie doing something quite like that. Also, I like the even though it's a kid friendly movie, you do have the different homages. I like the later in the movie, they were just throwing in a bunch of stuff. Kind of, they realized, the more gags they put in, the more fun it was. So they, Joe Dante and Zach, who plays Billy, came up with the chainsaw scene towards the end where Stripe kind of goes at him with the chainsaw, and reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're kind of homage to that.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. That one. Yeah, that was one of the things. Like after we had like a bajillion posters, which are also cool to see, to be honest with you. But
yeah.
No, this one is this one started an empire. Really, I mean, it became such a creative force after the fact. And remains one of the kings of Christmas horror. I think definitely in the top 5. I would say of anybody's given list.
Yeah,
I would say that would be a safe bet. If not, then definitely in the top 10 for sure. But this one is up there for me too. But
yeah,
you covered quite a bit of horror during Christmas movies.
Yeah, and, yeah. We've kind of kept it kind of horror centric, but there's always next year, and also those people out there that have their special movie that's a Christmas movie that may not be a Christmas movie. You can give your suggestions in the comments below. Yep, we absolutely love that, and yeah, this is a gem. Yeah, there is the sequel. The movie company tried to do they kept kind of trying to come up with ideas for the next Gremlin movie, and Joe Dante was kind of not interested in doing another one. So they were kind of coming up, and they kept falling short, and finally they came back to Joe Dante, and the producer was like, okay, we tried it, but evidently you're the secret sauce. Do whatever you want. So so Joe Dante kind of did his parody of the original movie, and that and Joe Dante says that's his favorite of the two movies. But he said he has to give love to the first one because that's the one that continually gives him checks.
Yeah.
He keeps getting a check for that movie. So, but yeah, personally, my personal opinion is, I love the second one best, and we'll cover that one in the future on this show.
We absolutely will. Absolutely. Now, it begs for us to, and how can you not? But yeah, no, I like what I like too. But the first one is always going to be up there, at least for sentimental nostalgia. But the second one has its highlights as well. But this
yeah, that's it says the guy's name, that voice actor Frank Wilker. Was the voice actor. He did a lot of the voices in this, but he was specifically the voice of Stripe, and he's the one that got Howie Mandel into the movie and to audition for the movie, and got him into the voice acting world. Howie had already started doing stand up, and was doing the kind of the baby version of him that became the cartoon series and whatnot. But and that was sort of like the voice that he kind of gives Gizmo. And he said that after seeing the pictures of Gizmo, that was the voice that just kind of naturally came out of him for Gizmo, and that was sort of perfect.
Yeah, I think I was gonna see. I think that was around the time when he was also a regular on the Tonight Show too. Like, so that was like that circuit that they went on, that like they could catch on to other things. Anyway, just a fun little fact, tying everything together in the 80s. What a time! That time will never come again.
Yeah, and
for sure. What beautiful experience and movie that perfectly highlights all the great things about an 80s movie. This one was like, this is up there with the Kings, the Titans. You have Indiana. You rattled off Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones and so many others that came before and after that. This was a very good year for movies in 1984.
Yep, definitely. Yep, a lot of classics. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that you have. Well, yeah, Indiana Jones was a sequel, but you had both Ghostbusters and Gremlins, huge IPs now, but were untested original movies. Yeah, we really don't have that equivalent today. Yeah, if you do have a original movie, big budget original movie, you don't have another one coming out that same week.
Absolutely,
it's sort of rare and far between.
There was quite a parade that was put on in 1984 for movies, if you were a movie. But I believe you also had something else that Joe Dante related as well.
Yeah, Joe Dante, he does have a podcast. I guess I should have brought that out too. But recently, his SEVERIN Films is one of those movie boutique that puts out like quality 4Ks and Blu-rays of rare movies and old movies and new movies. And they invited Joe Dante to come by their cellar and take a look at the different movies on their shelf, and him kind of talk about each of them. So yeah, Joe Dante's out there. It's a cool little thing. He points out the big Christopher Lee box set they have, and I think he's holding the Peter Cushing one there, and it didn't help my my wallet, but watching this made me want to pick up some of those, especially that Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing box sets.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. No, this is great. That's the other thing too, is like this stuff's going to get more rare. I mean, it's not going to like completely disappear, but like whenever you can get really good physical media for something that you actually like or really are into, now is always the time to do that in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Warner Brothers being bought by Netflix, it's kind of shaky as far as if they're going to continue putting out physical media for that.
You mean the Zack Snyder whatever's hasn't spawned off like $1 billion industry of brand new action figures? You're telling me that's just not the case?
No, yeah. I was watching another. There's a lot of different channels on YouTube about physical media collectors and whatnot, and this one guy pointed out that he was reviewing a 4K release, a British release of I think it's called The Night of the Juggler. I think it's a 1970s movie. Regardless, hadn't seen it, but he was talking about it, and he said, the cool thing about physical media is that they could bring this movie out, do like special features for it. And for the longest time, that movie wasn't the only version you could see was kind of dupes off of a bad VHS copy. So this is the first time it's really being presented in 4K and beautiful widescreen, and you can really see the quality of the movie. But and that's the benefit of a physical release, because they could hype it up. It kind of stands out, and kind of generates excitement about this movie. Whereas if they kind of dusted it off and kind of made it look kind of nice and then threw it on Netflix, it wouldn't get the same attention. It would just disappear, and maybe some of the film buffs would spot it, but it wouldn't really get the prestige that like a physical release would be. And I kind of thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's true, and then there's some brick and mortar stores, like I think Vinegar Syndrome has a brick and mortar store, and I think Orbit DVD does too. And I wish one of those places were close to me, because there's something about being able to walk into a store and see these wonderful movies on the shelf and be able to take it down. And it's like, this is coming home with me tonight, And whereas ordering them online is that's fun as well, waiting for them to come in the mail. But there's something about holding them in your hand and like, oh yeah, I want this one.
Well, and it's so funny too, because it's just such a shame that I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying I have an answer here for Netflix or whatever, but I'm sure if they're clever, they are. I will give them that they're a very clever company, and hopefully they'll make sure that they play into, because it's just such a funny pairing when you have a company that is all software. They're software companies, essentially what they are, but they started out with physical media. So and then that went away, obviously, for obvious reasons. That's just the phase of things. So it's just kind of funny how these worlds collide and who owns who and whatnot. But so hope springs eternal with all the wonderful smaller companies out there that do take the prints and they do something with them or whatever, or whatever the hell they're called, prints or film or whatever, or lovingly restored as well too. That's the other thing too that can happen as well. So
and I will point out that back say 10 years ago, the thought that you could always get something on DVD or Blu-ray or whatnot, there was that sense of a movie like Gremlins would always be on the shelf, no matter where you were. But we're kind of in a time where there's so much physical media, cool things coming out, but it's also almost kind of fragile in the sense that it could go away in a year or two. So there's a kind of that urgency of if you do want that movie in your physical media collection, you probably want to do it now as opposed to wait.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't see everything but like a cardboard. They sell you the box and then there's a movie code in there. Like that's not a thing, but
Oh, they
just cynical and delusional as well, I mean, I know
they do have codes.
That is true.
Yeah, I know.
And that is cool when they do that. I will never turn that down. But anyway, you're like, we're like one step away from like that thing. That's what Nintendo does with their Switch 2 games. Is actually, you buy a physical one, but it means nothing.
Right,
It's the code on the
Like I stopped buying physical. I stopped buying physical games a few years back. You would think that would be odd for me, and being a physical media guy, but the physical,
where you buy them from.
Well, the game is no longer physical, like you were saying. There's when you buy it day one, that's not the finished game anymore. There's it's constantly being updated, and like we're currently playing. Both of us are playing Cyberpunk. We picked that back up. Whereas this is the very first time I've ever had a first person or a single player game where it came in. It's like there's been so many updates. Your perk system doesn't make sense anymore. We had to wipe that all out. You'll have to redo your perk. Yeah, I'm not used to that for multiplayer games. That MMOs where they'll redo the whole game system. But for a single player game, for them to wipe, to make so many changes that they had to reset my character, that's crazy to me. But but that just tells you that the games now are not set in stone. Day one they come out, they're constantly changing. So there's not that sense of there's not really a physical media version of that anymore. It's always changing.
It's just so funny how and of course we're talking about a game that's 5 years old.
Yeah.
That was actually coincidentally when we did the Cyberpunk episode or the Edge Runners binge worthy. That was the 50th anniversary. That weekend was that I think it was like a Saturday or something. Whatever it was, the fact that the strength of the thing, if you have a good enough franchise inside a game, the physical hardware also, this is in this era that we are, that's just interesting. Like the physical hardware you play it on actually doesn't matter anymore. Essentially, that's like you can play it more places than not. And of course, that's like kind of like where it also goes. I was actually talking to our good friend Jay today earlier, and that came up about Cyberpunk because I was catching up with them, and I was like, oh my god, I've been playing so much, so much of it. But it's just a fun thing to do. But anyway, physical media is the thing Thomas is always saying, hey, grab them now, because the days the days cart where you would just go to any kind of Walmart, any Walmart in the world, or even Target, really anywhere, and you would have the $5 bins, of like just whatever tier movies that are there, or maybe even really big popular movies that are just kind of saturation point of like those. So those are not a thing. Like it's already like pulling teeth trying to get help in one of these stores to even go look for it in the back, so you're that's just one more, again, a forever changing. The only thing that stays the same is the change. So as it goes. But no, right. Gremlins, a great movie. This is one that I was so happy that we could get to this, and when you mentioned it, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, another good thing about movies, Gremlins, it has not had a software update. It does not need one. No. It's still a great movie. You can enjoy it right now, same as we did back then. Yeah, there's no special edition of it that there's no added in CGI guys. It's completely CGI free. But yeah, quite enjoyable. One of those pillars of movies that made me who I am today. So, blame Gremlins for that. Joe Dante. His crazy imagination.
Right. Absolutely perfect. Well, I have been Mike.
I'm Tom with Gizmo. He's still okay. he gets hungry about a little bit after midnight, but nothing will happen, right?
No, nothing bad, nothing bad. But I've been Mike. We'll see you later.